Ambassador Lee Hanna walked slowly into the massive council chamber. Her black shoes clicked against the smooth metal floor as hundreds of alien eyes turned to watch her. The room was huge, with curved walls that stretched up so high she could barely see the ceiling. Bright lights shone down on the center platform where she would have to stand and speak. Behind her, 2 human officers followed quietly. Commander Park Miho kept his face blank, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. Captain Kim Sora looked straight ahead, her jaw set hard. They both wore the dark blue uniforms of Earth's space fleet, with small patches showing their home country's flag. The alien representatives sat in rows of strange chairs made for bodies very different from human ones. Some aliens had 4 arms, others had long snake-like necks, and a few looked like giant insects with shiny shells. They all watched Hannah with the same look, like she was something small and unimportant. Prime Minister Velnoth of the Zenthri Empire sat in the biggest chair. He was tall and gray, with 4 muscular arms crossed over his chest. His yellow eyes looked down at Hannah, like she was a bug he wanted to step on. "So," Velnoth said, his voice deep and loud, "the humans want to talk again. What is it this time? More complaints about your living conditions? Better food in your military bases?" Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Some clicked their claws. Others made high whistling noises. The sound echoed around the huge chamber, making Hannah feel very small and alone. But she did not look small. Hannah stood straight and tall, her dark hair pulled back in a neat style. She had practiced this speech for months. Today would change everything one way or another. "Honorable council members," she began, her voice clear and strong, "I come here today not to ask for better treatment. I come to demand equal rights." The laughter stopped. The chamber became very quiet. Hannah continued, "For 200 years, humans have fought your wars. We have died in battles you were too scared to fight. We have built your machines, fixed your broken systems, and kept your trade routes safe from pirates and raiders." Trade Representative Kix of the Nexian Confederation leaned forward. He looked like a giant snake with arms, his green scales shining under the lights. "And you have been paid very well for these services, little human. Your people live comfortable lives because of council generosity." "Comfortable lives?" Hannah's voice grew harder. "We live like servants, like pets. You give us orders and expect us to obey without question. When we ask to vote on council decisions, you laugh. When we request representation in your government, you tell us we are too young, too violent, too stupid. Because you are," Velnoth said coldly. "Humans are useful soldiers, nothing more. You are good at fighting because you enjoy violence. But government, planning, these require intelligence and wisdom that your species lacks." More alien laughter filled the chamber. Captain Kim Sora's face turned red with anger, but she stayed quiet. Commander Park Miho's fist got tighter. Hannah reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small device. It was black and smooth, with a single red button on top. Every human in the galaxy carried one just like it. "This is humanity's final offer," she said, holding up the device. "Give us equal representation on this council. Give us the right to vote on decisions that affect our people. Treat us as partners, not as your attack dogs." "And if we refuse?" asked Council Member Silas, a peaceful-looking alien with soft blue fur and large, kind eyes. "Then we leave," Hannah said simply. The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens shouted, clicked, whistled, and roared all at once. Some stood up from their chairs, waving their arms or tentacles. Others banged on the metal surfaces in front of them. "Silence!" Velnotha's voice boomed over chaos. The other aliens quickly became quiet. "You cannot leave," he said to Hannah with a nasty smile. "Your entire economy depends on council contracts. Your colonies exist because we allow them to exist. You have nowhere else to go. Where would you run to?" Kix added with a laugh. "Back to your little blue planet? You cannot support billions of people on one small world." Hannah looked around the chamber one more time. She saw the same thing in every alien face, the belief that humans were weak, dependent, controllable. They really thought humanity could not survive without them. "You know what?" she said, pressing the red button on her device. Let's find out. The device made a soft beeping sound. Immediately, every human in the chamber, Miho, Sora, and the guards at the doors, heard the same beep from their own devices. All human personnel, Hannah said loudly, speaking into the device, "This is Ambassador Lee Hannah. Execute protocol return. Pack everything. We are going home." For a moment, nobody moved. Then the aliens began to realize what was happening. Across the galaxy, every human soldier, engineer, doctor, teacher, and worker was getting the same message. "You cannot be serious," Velna said, but his voice sounded worried now. Hannah smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. "Watch us." She turned and walked toward the door, followed by the other humans. Behind them, the aliens began shouting again, but this time they sounded scared instead of angry. The exodus had begun. 3 weeks had passed since the last human transport ship disappeared into deep space. Admiral Jang Taeho stood on the bridge of his Zen-3 warship, staring at the red warning lights that covered his tactical screen like a disease. Each red dot meant trouble, pirates, raiders, or worse. "Sir, another merchant convoy has been attacked," his young officer reported, his voice shaking. "The Keth Moran pirates hit them in the outer ring. All cargo stolen, 3 ships destroyed." Teo's 4 arms clenched into fists. The Keth Moran had been quiet for decades, kept in check by constant human patrols. Now they were everywhere, like insects crawling out of dark holes. "Send a 3rd fleet to investigate," Taeho ordered. "Sir, the 3rd fleet is already responding to attacks in the northern sectors. The 5th fleet is dealing with raiders near the mining worlds. We don't have anyone left to send." Taeho looked at his tactical map again. Before the humans left, they had patrolled these same space lanes with half the ships he had now. Yet somehow, they had kept everything peaceful. Now, with his entire fleet scattered across the galaxy, chaos was spreading faster than he could stop it. Meanwhile, on the industrial world of Kepler Prime, Foreman Yix stared at the massive atmospheric processor that kept his colony alive. The huge machine was covered in warning lights, and strange sounds came from deep inside its metal walls. "What does this red light mean?" he asked his assistant, pointing at a flashing symbol. "I don't know, sir. The human engineers always handle the technical problems. They said the manual was too complicated for us to understand." Yix felt cold fear creep up his spine. 3 million colonists lived on Kepler Prime, breathing the air that this machine created. If it stopped working, they would all die within days. "Where is the manual?" he demanded. "In the control room, sir, but it's written in human language, and the translation computer left with the humans." Yix ran to the control room, his 6 legs clicking rapidly on the metal floor. Inside, he found thick books covered in human writing that looked like tiny black marks. He could not read a single word. The machine made a loud grinding noise, then went quiet. Too quiet. On the farming world of New Eden, Kim Soo-yeon had been the lead agricultural engineer for 15 years. She had designed the soil treatment systems that turned dead rock into rich farmland. But Kim was gone now, along with all her knowledge and her team. Farmer Zek stood in his fields, watching his crops turn yellow and die. The automatic soil treatment system had shut down 2 days ago, displaying a message in human writing that no one could read. "The food stores will last maybe 2 months," his neighbor said sadly. "After that, 4 billion people on this world will starve." Zek nodded grimly. They called humans stupid, primitive, good only for fighting. Now their children might die because they had been too proud to learn from those same humans. Back in the council chambers, the emergency meeting had been going for 6 hours straight. Council member Silas looked tired and frightened as he read his report. 14 agricultural worlds are reporting crop failures, he said quietly. "The human-built environmental systems are shutting down automatically. We have no idea how to restart them." "What about our technical experts?" demanded Velnov, though he sounded less confident than before. "Sir, we never trained our own people to handle human technology. The humans always said they would maintain everything themselves. We thought that was convenient." Trade Representative Kix slithered forward, his green scales now dull with stress. The economic situation is worse, he reported. Trade between sectors has dropped by 70%. Too many ships are being attacked. The insurance companies are refusing to cover any shipments. Use our military to escort the cargo ships, Velnoth ordered. Sir, our military is designed for large battles, not patrol work. The humans use small, fast ships that can respond quickly to trouble. Our heavy warships are too slow and use too much fuel. In the Deep Space Monitoring Station Alpha 7, the alien crew watched their screens with growing panic. Strange signals were appearing at the edge of the galaxy, signals from ships that should not exist. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Void region, the sensor operator reported. The signals match old records of the Void Hunters. The station commander felt his blood turn to ice. The Void Hunters were an ancient enemy, terrible beings that had attacked the galaxy many times in the past. For 50 years, they had stayed away from Council space, kept back by human forces that no one else had known about. Send an immediate warning to Council headquarters, the commander ordered. Priority Alpha emergency signal. But even as he spoke, more signals appeared on his screen. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The humans had not just been fighting pirates and raiders. They had been holding back something much worse, something that had been waiting patiently for its chance to strike. Now that chance had come. On Earth, in a hidden command center, Admiral Cho Min-sik watched the same signals on his own screens. His officers worked quietly around him, monitoring the galaxy they had left behind. Sir, should we warn the Council about the Void Hunters? Asked his aide. Min-sik was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. They made their choice, he said softly. Now they must live with the consequences. The galaxy was about to learn what life was like without humanity's protection. The lesson would be written in blood and fire. Captain Nam Jahun floated in the dark space between stars, watching the galaxy tear itself apart. His ship, the Silent Watch, was invisible to alien sensors, hidden in a region of space that most people believed was empty. But it was not empty. It was full of human ships, human stations, and human eyes watching everything. Captain, you need to see this, Lieutenant Bei Yunji called out, her voice tight with fear. She pointed at her screen, where red dots were moving like angry insects across the star map. Jahun pushed himself over to her station and looked at the display. His face went pale. How many ships? At least 3,000, sir. Maybe more. They're coming from the Void region, just like the old stories said they would. The Void Hunters had returned. For 50 years, secret human fleets had patrolled the empty space at the galaxy's edge, fighting small battles that no one else knew about. They had kept the ancient enemy locked away in the dark between stars. But now the human ships were gone, pulled back to defend Earth's borders. They waited, Jahun whispered. They knew we were the only thing stopping them. On the screen, 3 star systems suddenly went dark. Billions of lives, gone in moments. Back on Earth, deep underground in a bunker that had been built during the old wars, Admiral Cho Min-sik studied the reports coming in from across the galaxy. The situation was worse than even he had expected. Sir, we're receiving thousands of messages from the Council worlds, reported Intelligence Officer Lee Jaiwin. They're begging us to help them. Some are offering complete surrender if we'll just answer their calls. Min-sik's weathered face showed no emotion. He had fought aliens, pirates, and monsters for 30 years. He had lost friends, lost ships, lost entire fleets protecting people who called him a barbarian. Continue monitoring. Do not respond, he ordered. But, sir, the civilian casualties, there are children dying out there. Min-sik's jaw tightened. There were children dying when the Council decided we were too stupid to have a voice in our own fate. They made their choice. Now they live with it. In the Nexus Trade Hub, once the richest space station in the galaxy, panic filled the corridors. Shop owners boarded up their businesses as crowds of desperate aliens fought over the last supplies. The automated defense systems had failed 3 days ago when the human maintenance crews disappeared. Security Chief Vox tried to maintain order with a small team of guards, but it was hopeless. The food shipments aren't coming, he told the station administrator. The transport companies say it's too dangerous to travel. What about the military escort service? The Zenthri fleet is busy fighting pirates in 12 different sectors. They can't protect everyone. Outside the station's windows, the wreckage of destroyed merchant ships drifted in the darkness. Pirates had attacked a convoy just hours earlier, and no one had come to help. On the council world of Meridian, the peaceful blue-furred aliens watched their children grow sick as the air recycling systems began to fail. The humans had installed these systems 50 years ago, and they had worked perfectly ever since. But now strange smells filled the air, and the sky was turning a sickly yellow color. Elder Silas stood in the council building's medical center, looking at the rows of sick children. "How long do we have?" he asked the doctor. "Maybe a week before the air becomes toxic," the doctor replied sadly. The human engineers left detailed instructions, but they're written in technical language we don't understand. We tried to follow them, but we made things worse. Silas closed his eyes. His people had always prided themselves on being peaceful and wise. They had looked down on humans as violent primitives. Now their children were dying because they had been too proud to learn from those same primitives. In space above the mining world of Kepler-7, the massive or processing station slowly spun out of control. Without human pilots to guide the automated systems, the station's orbit was decaying. Soon it would crash into the planet below, killing millions. The alien crew had tried everything they could think of, but the controls were designed for human hands and human minds. Every time they tried to fix something, they broke something else. Emergency message to all ships in the area. The station commander broadcast. "We need immediate evacuation assistance. The station will impact the surface in 18 hours. But there were no ships to answer. The rescue fleets were human, and the humans were gone. Prime Minister Velnov sat alone in his private office, staring at reports that painted a picture of complete disaster. Half the council worlds were dark. Trade had collapsed. The military was scattered and ineffective. And now the Void Hunters were sweeping through the outer sectors like a plague. He had ruled the Zenthri Empire for 20 years, leading his people prosperity and power. But all that prosperity had been built on human backs, and all that power had depended on human strength. A soft chime announced an incoming message. Velnov looked at the screen and saw the face of his military commander, Admiral Jang Teho. "Sir, I have to report the loss of the 4th and 7th fleets," Teho said quietly. "The Void Hunters have weapons we've never seen before. Our ships can't match their speed or firepower. What about the other council fleets?" "The Nexian fleet has retreated to defend their homeworld. The Meridian forces refuse to fight at all. We're alone out here, sir." Velnov closed his eyes. "How long until they reach the core worlds?" "At their current rate of advance? 3 months, maybe 4. 3 months until the heart of council civilization fell to the ancient enemy. 3 months until everything they had built crumbled to dust. And somewhere out there in the dark between stars, human ships watched and waited, counting the cost of alien pride. 6 months had passed since the humans walked away, and the Galactic Council was dying. Prime Minister Velnov stood in the Great Council chamber, but now only 12 representatives remained. The rest had either fled to their homeworlds or gone silent when the Void Hunters found them. The chamber that once held hundreds of proud aliens now felt empty and cold. Broken screens flickered with news of another fallen world. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. The air recycling system made sick wheezing sounds because no one knew how to fix it properly. "We have lost contact with 47-member worlds," Trade Representative Kix reported, his once bright green scales now gray with exhaustion. "The Void Hunters have taken the entire outer ring. They will reach the core worlds within weeks." Velnov looked older than his years. His 4 strong arms now seemed weak and tired. "What about our military response?" "Admiral Teo's fleet was destroyed 3 days ago," Councilmember Silas said quietly, his blue fur matted and dull. "He made a final stand at the Nexus Gate. His last message was he apologized for failing us." The chamber fell silent. Teho had been their best military leader, and now he was gone along with his ships and crews. "Sir," Kix continued, "I have reviewed the classified military files, the ones we never bothered to read before. His voice shook with shame. The humans, they were not just our soldiers. They designed our defense networks. They built our communication systems. They maintained our trade routes. They were the backbone of our entire civilization. Velnatha's yellow eyes closed in pain. Show me. The holographic display activated, showing reports that had been filed and forgotten for decades. Human engineering teams had redesigned the Council's power grids. Human doctors had created new medical treatments that saved millions of alien lives. Human teachers had helped different species understand each other. Human diplomats had prevented wars that could have torn the galaxy apart. They held us together, Silas whispered. All these years, we thought we were the advanced ones, but they were doing the real work while we sat in meetings and argued about politics. The economic analysis is even worse, Kix added, pulling up more files. Our prosperity, our technology, our peaceful society. It all depended on human innovation and human labor. Without them, we are just isolated species pretending to be a civilization. A new alarm started ringing. The display showed more red dots moving across the star map. The Void Hunters were advancing faster now, meeting no real resistance. We have to contact Earth, Velnoth said desperately. We have to ask for their help. Sir, Silas said gently, we have been trying for months. They will not answer our calls. But Velnoth was already standing, his pride finally broken. Then I will go myself. Prepare a ship. 2 days later, Velnatha's diplomatic vessel approached Earth's solar system. He had brought only a small crew, hoping that humility might succeed where arrogance had failed. This is Prime Minister Velnoth of the Zenthri Empire. He broadcasts on all frequencies. I request permission to speak with human leaders. Please, we need your help. The response came from Captain Osungwan, commanding the defense platform that guarded the outer system. His voice was calm and professional, but there was no warmth in it. Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately or be fired upon. Captain, please listen to me, Velnoth begged, his voice breaking. The Void Hunters have returned. Half the galaxy is dead or dying. We were wrong about humans. We were wrong about everything. Please, just let me speak to someone. There was a long pause. Then Sungwon's voice returned, still cold and distant. I have no authority to grant you passage. No exceptions. But the children, Velnoth cried out. Billions of innocent children are dying because of our mistakes. Surely your people would not let children suffer for the sins of their leaders. Another pause. Longer this time. Unknown vessel, you have 30 seconds to change course before we open fire. Velnatha's ship hung in space for 3 days, broadcasting messages of apology and desperation. But the human defense platforms remained silent and threatening. Finally, with his fuel running low, Velnoth was forced to turn back. Meanwhile, on a secret human monitoring station, Lieutenant Ko Yuno watched the alien ship retreat. She turned to her captain with tears in her eyes. Sir, was that the right choice? They seemed genuinely sorry. Captain looked tired and sad. Maybe they are sorry now. But where was their sorrow when they called us stupid animals? Where was their regret when they treated us like slaves? He paused, watching Velnatha's ship disappear into the darkness. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way. Back in the council chamber, Velnoth reported his failure to the remaining representatives. The reality was clear now. Humanity would not save them. They had burned that bridge when they chose pride over partnership. What do we do now? Kix asked hopelessly. Velnoth looked around the dying chamber, at the broken screens and failing systems, at the few aliens who remained to witness the end of their great civilization. We prepare to die with dignity, he said quietly, and we pray that someone, somewhere, will remember that we were once more than the fools we became. Outside the chamber's windows, the stars themselves seemed to dim as another world fell silent in the darkness. 1 year after humanity disappeared from the galaxy, Admiral Cho Minsik stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Inchan's Pride. Around him, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited in the darkness between stars. Hundreds of ships floated silently, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and support vessels that had been built during humanity's year of isolation. All units report ready, Admiral, announced Fleet Captain Shin Jamin, his voice calm but excited. After a year of watching the galaxy burn, they were finally going back. Through the main view screen, Minseek could see the dead hulk of Nexus Prime, once the greatest trading station in the galaxy. Now it was dark and cold, consumed by the Void Hunters like so many other worlds. But this time would be different. This time, humanity was not coming as servants or hired soldiers. Admiral, we're detecting the main Void Hunter fleet, reported the sensor officer. 3,000 ships, concentrated around the old Council homeworld. Minseek nodded grimly. The Void Hunters had grown bold during their year of conquest, gathering in huge fleets instead of staying hidden in small groups. They had forgotten why they used the fearless par space. Open all communication channels, Minseek ordered. Let me speak to them. The calm officer nodded, and Minseek's voice rang out across space, broadcast on every frequency the Void Hunters might be listening to. Attention, Void Hunter Fleet. This is Admiral Cho Minseek of the Terran Federation. You have invaded territory under human protection. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal, or we will show you why your ancestors spent 1,000 years hiding from us. The response came quickly, not in words, but in action. The Void Hunter ships, black as night and covered in strange spikes, turned toward the human fleet and began their attack run. Their ships moved like living things, flowing through space in patterns that made no sense to most species. But humans had fought the Void Hunters for 50 years in secret battles at the galaxy's edge. They knew every trick, every tactic, every weakness. All ships, execute Formation Phoenix, Minseek commanded. What happened next lasted exactly 18 minutes. The human fleet moved like a perfectly coordinated dance, ships weaving between enemy fire while their weapons carved through the Void Hunter formations. New human technology, developed during their year away, proved devastating against the ancient enemy. Where alien fleets had been destroyed in hours, the humans systematically dismantled the Void Hunter force with cold efficiency. When the last enemy ship exploded into fragments, absolute silence filled the space around Nexus Prime. Across the galaxy, similar battles were fought as human task forces appeared from nowhere to drive back the Void Hunters. The ancient enemy, so confident after their year of easy victories, found themselves facing the one species they had always feared. Ambassador Lee Hanna sat in the diplomatic vessel Soul's voice, watching the cleanup operations around the liberated worlds. Alien survivors broadcast messages of gratitude and desperation, begging for humanity's return to the old system. But Hanna's orders were clear. She activated the ship's communication array and broadcast her message to every surviving government in the galaxy. This is Ambassador Lee Hanna, representing the Terran Federation. We have driven back the Void Hunters and secured the major trade routes. We offer protection and partnership to all species willing to treat us as equals. She paused, letting her words be translated into dozens of languages. However, we are not returning to our previous role. We are not your servants, your attack dogs, or your emergency repair crew. The Terran Federation is now a sovereign power, and we will interact with other governments as equals or not at all. On the planet Meridian, Elder Silas listened to the broadcast while standing among the children his people had thought would die. Human medical teams had arrived just in time to fix the failing air systems, but they had not stayed. They had completed their work and left, making it clear this was a one-time rescue. "What does this mean for us?" asked another elder. Silas looked up at the sky, where human ships could be seen moving between the stars. "It means we must learn to take care of ourselves. The humans will help us, but they will not carry us anymore." In the ruins of the old council chamber, Prime Minister Velnoth met with a few representatives who had survived a year of chaos. The building's lights worked again, fixed by human engineers, but the humans had made it clear this was temporary assistance. "They have offered us a choice," Velnoth told the gathered aliens. "We can join their new Galactic Federation as equal partners, or we can remain independent and receive basic protection only." "What about our old authority? Our leadership positions?" asked Trade Representative Kix. Velnoth's laugh was bitter and tired. "What authority? What leadership? We spent a year proving we cannot govern ourselves, let alone anyone else. Commander Park Miho, now serving as humanity's military representative, stood on the observation deck of his ship, watching human and alien vessels work together to rebuild a damaged space station. For the first time in years, the work was being done by volunteers from both sides, not by human slaves and alien masters. Captain Kim Sora joined him, her own ship visible through the viewport. "Think it will work this time?" she asked. Miho considered the question carefully. The galaxy was rebuilding, but it was rebuilding differently. Humans had taken their place not as the strong arm of alien civilization, but as its beating heart. Species that had shown respect found themselves with powerful allies and trading partners. Those that had dismissed humanity as primitive found themselves with basic protection and nothing more. "The old system was built on lies," he said finally. "This one is built on truth. Truth has a better chance of lasting." In the depths of space, human patrol fleets moved silently through the darkness, watching for any sign that the Void Hunters might return. But now they were not alone. Alien ships flew alongside them, not as masters giving orders, but as partners sharing the burden of keeping the galaxy safe. The age of human servitude was over. The age of human leadership had begun.